take a look at today's lesson. Today we will solve linear equations using the LCD method. We will be able to explain how to solve linear equations using the LCD method. So let's take a look at today's lesson. Hey everyone, so let's take a quick look at our do now, and as normal I'm going to read it and I'm going to give you some time to do it on your own. So it says, do now answer the following. Question number 1, you're given an equation, show all work. It doesn't say how to show your answer, so you could do it in any way you want. For number 2, it says using your calculator find the solution to the following. So I am going to make you guys pause this video and try it on your own, and let's see if we come out with the same answers. So for number 1, here's my work. I solved my equation by moving like terms together, and I ended up getting x is equal to -2. It did not say to write it using set notation. So if you want, you could tell me that you're writing it in set notation, and I will take that as well. For number 2, using your calculator, you had to input that equation. So when you input this equation into your calculator, you must remember, put this front side first and that back side after, and you get an inconsistent situation. Parallel lines. Parallel lines means no solution. So I gave you enough space there. If you wanted to, you could show your work, but since I said using your calculator, I did not show any of my work. So let's go down to our thinking of today. Okay, so today we want to think and we want to determine how to solve equations using the LCD method. So solving an equation using this method, LCD. We use the LCD method for solving an equation in order to eliminate the denominators of a fraction, the denominator of a fraction. So my goal is to get an equation that's nice and simple. When I have fractions, sometimes it's a little more complex, so I want to try to get rid of those fractions. And here are my steps. Identify the LCD by looking at all the denominators of the equation has, multiply each term by that LCD, solve the equation, and obviously you should always be checking your answer. And I suggest you check using our trick on the calculator. So let's go to page 2. In page 2, we start off with example 1, and example 1 wants us to use this method, LCD. Most often when I give you problems, I may not specify what method to use. So you have to remember what's the best approach to solving these. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify my denominators. So I have a 3 and I have a 4. I'm going to ask myself, what is the LCD? What is the least common denominator? So the least common denominator in this case would be 12. If 12 is my LCD, what I want to do is multiply everything by that LCD. That's going to let me get rid of my fractions. So here is my work. I'm going to start off by writing down everything. Okay, so I rewrote the same exact equation, but now I'm going to do the process. The process tells me that in order to eliminate the denominators, I'm going to take this LCD that I know is 12, and I'm going to multiply this first term by 12, that first fraction by 12. I'm going to take this second fraction and multiply that by 12, and I'm going to take anything on the other side and multiply it by 12. So I'm multiplying every single piece of my equation by the LCD. Why am I doing that? Because I'm able to cancel out and I want to get rid of those fractions. So I look at this 12 and I'm dividing it by 4. What is 12 divided by 4? 3. So the 3 stays on top because that 3 is a whole number. I'm going to do it again. I'm looking at this 12 and I'm looking at this 3. What is 12 divided by 3? 4. So this denominator gets canceled out and I'm left with a whole number of 4. For the 6, there is no denominator, so there's nothing I could cancel out. Now I'm left with 3 parentheses x minus 4 plus 4 times x, I'll leave it in parentheses, equals 12 times 6. So I went from having something that had fractions to something so much more easier for me to solve. So now I'm going to solve this. Okay, so I solved my equation. For number 2, show all work to solve the equation. First thing I'm going to do is identify my denominators. So this time I have a 5x and I have a 2x. I see that they both contain x, which is telling me that the only thing I'm really looking at is the 5 and the 2. So I'm going to identify that LCD again. The least common denominator of 5x and 2x is 10x. Now that I have that 10x as my LCD, I'm going to use it to my advantage. So what I want to do is I'm going to rewrite again. I rewrite my equation and I'm going to multiply every single piece by 10x, by 10x, by 10x. So I'm multiplying all those 3 pieces by 10x. And now here is what happens. Again, I'm looking at that 10x and that 5x. The x's are automatically going to be canceled out. And I ask myself, what is 10 divided by 5? That's easy, 2. So for the first piece, I'm left with 2 times 3. Let me look at the second piece. I'm looking at the 10x and I'm dividing it by 2x. Why am I dividing it? Because I do have a fraction and fraction is a form of division. So I am going to cancel out those x's first. And I know 10 divided by 2 is 5. So I'm left with plus 5 times 7 equals. Over here, there were no fractions. So I'm just going to write 10x. 10x times 1, right? And I went from having something that looked really complex to something that I could answer in a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. So I'm going to answer this quickly. And I get a value of x is equal to 41 over 10. And again, if I want to double check, I should double check in my calculator, using my calculator. Last one. Number 3, show all work again to solve the equation. So we have a 2x and we have a x plus 1 as my denominator. What I want to do is get a like denominator. Now, yes, they both contain an x, but that pink highlighted piece is not just an x, it's an x plus something. So I have to be careful with that. The only way to get my LCD, and the easiest way actually, is by multiplying these two together. So the LCD is 2x times x plus 1. This is what I'm going to use. I'm not even going to bother distributing. I'm just going to use that because my goal is to cancel things out. And if I distribute, I'm just going to complex my life. So I'm going to rewrite. There's my rewriting, and I'm going to now start multiplying by that LCD, everything. So now, what's going to cancel out? In the denominator, I have a 2x. So let's get rid of the 2x. What's left? I'm left with the x plus 1 times 3, or 3 times x plus 1. Over here, I have an x plus 1 in the denominator. I'm going to get rid of that x plus 1. So what's left? I'm left with a minus 2x times 2x equals, over here, I need to multiply. So I'm going to start by multiplying this piece and then distributing the negative 2. All right, and this is what I get. So this is what's left behind. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to solve this equation. So I'm going to start distributing. I'm going to start moving my like terms over to the same side, which gives me a value of x equals negative 3 over 7. So the LCD method, your goal is to cancel out your denominators. You want to go from having a complex looking equation to having a nice simple type of equation. So hopefully LCD method is your go-to method now.